Good evening. Mayor, Congresswoman, Senator, guests, good evening and thank you for joining us at the Jewish Federation of the Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys, Every Person Has a Name, our annual remembrance of those who were murdered during the Holocaust. My name is Dr. Janine Borland-Mann. I am the president of our Jewish Federation. The Holocaust did not just happen overnight. It happened with a slow, calculated turn towards hate, an acceptance of violence, and intolerance of those who may differ from ourselves. Reading the names of those who perished reminds us that each person has a story. Although some of the names, dates, and places that we read tonight are incomplete, the details we have serve as a reminder of the importance of every individual. Anti-Semitism and hate-based violence is increasing. Events like this help us recognize the importance of education and prevention. On behalf of our Board of Governors of the Jewish Federation of the Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys, I thank our elected officials and the City of Pasadena for hosting this event. We appreciate your work and continued support of this program. May each name we remember tonight be a blessing. It is my pleasure to introduce our Pasadena Mayor, Victor Gordo.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask my colleague, Councilmember Jason Lyon, to join me and also recognize Mayor Terry Tornick, who's here with us today. Let me just say on behalf of myself and my family and friends and the City Council that we are here to stand and recognize the atrocities of the past, the atrocities that were committed against people merely for who they were as human beings. It's unacceptable, the hate, the criminal acts, and we can call it no less than that. Criminal acts that were perpetrated cannot be forgotten. And so I'm here with the honor and privilege of serving as mayor of the city of Pasadena to say we in Pasadena will remember all of the people and the families and the friends who were impacted by these criminal acts. And today, more than ever, I think, what happened to the Jewish community is relevant because we're seeing so much of the similarities in today's actions by our own federal government. And so we can't repeat history. We shouldn't allow atrocities, and one way to do it is to remember the actions of the past. So on behalf of residents of Pasadena, I thank all of you individually and collectively for standing out here tonight to help us do that. Thank you.
It is with deep honor and respect that we are back on these same steps to hold this important community event with the support of the City of Pasadena. Every Person Has a Name continues to provide our entire community with an opportunity to remember and honor those who were murdered during the Holocaust and further illustrate what can happen if hate is allowed to persist. The word genocide has been thrown around a lot as of late, and comparisons to the inhumanity and horrors of the Holocaust continue to be made. While all suffering is horrible, the Holocaust is the singular event that most people compare other atrocities to because of its size and scope. It is imperative that we remember that one of the main goals of the Nazis during World War II was to systematically annihilate and eradicate an entire people. They gathered their quote-unquote undesirables into ghettos, separating them from the rest of the society, rounded them up like cattle into fields with open pits that they were made to dig, shot them and left to rot, or they piled them into cattle cars bound for concentration camps like Auschwitz, Dachau, Buchenwald, and Mauthausen, or extermination camps like Treblinka, Sobibor, and Belzec, ultimately murdering 6 million, nearly 1/3 of Jews worldwide. To try and understand how many 6 million is daunting. Unfortunately, society often forgets that this number is actually made up of 6 million individual stories and experiences, along with countless others who survived the horrors and atrocities perpetrated by the Nazis. Over the next 24 hours, we will remind the world that each was a living, breathing person whose life was brutally cut short for a straightforward reason. They were Jews. They were daughters and sons, mothers and fathers, aunts and uncles, grandmothers and grandfathers, co-workers, neighbors, and friends, just like the ones each of us has in our own lives. Tonight marks the 8th year that we've been held this event in commemoration of UN International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which is on January 27th. The date was selected to remember the day Auschwitz was liberated by the Allied forces in 1945. Tonight we stand here and collectively say that we continue to remember and demonstrate that there is no place for hate in our society and community at all. I also want us to take a moment this evening to honor the Holocaust survivors who are still alive and their families. We recognize and pay tribute to you. To note that the last living survivor will die, taking with them their firsthand accounts of the horrors and atrocities they experienced and lived through. According to the Claims Conference, there are an estimated 196,600 living Holocaust survivors remaining. And while half of them live in Israel, 31,000, 16%, live here in the U.S. This event serves as a reminder that after their passing, it will be our responsibility to tell and share their stories. Thankfully, organizations like the Holocaust Museum LA, the Simon Wiesenthal Center, Anne Frank LA, the United States Holocaust Museum, Yad Vashem, and the Shoah Foundation. Thank you to our distinguished speakers and guests for being with us this evening. Your presence demonstrates why an event like this remains so important. We sincerely appreciate your commitment, also to the Jewish Federation's Board of Governors and staff, for helping ensure that we continue to hold this event each and every year. And lastly, to all of you here, those online, along with the volunteers who will read names over the course of the next 24 hours, as well as people who will stop and listen. Together, we are keeping the memory alive of the 6 million individual lives that the Nazis brutally took during the Holocaust. By saying their names out loud, we restore some of the dignity and humanity that was ripped from them and keep their memory alive. Realize I didn't introduce myself. I'm Jason Moss, the Executive Director of the Jewish Federation. Thank you all so much for being here today. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce Yael Eini, who is the Consul for Public Diplomacy from the Israeli Consulate.
Honorable Holocaust survivors, distinguished elected officials, dignitaries and members of the clergy, ladies and gentlemen, today, as we mark International Holocaust Memorial Day, we gather with heavy hearts and help restore humanity to a broken world. From the horrors of the Holocaust and the depths of despair, the Jewish people rose. They returned to their ancient homeland, regained independence, built schools and hospitals, made the desert bloom, and created a strong, diverse, and vibrant society. In 1941, there was no shield of David to protect the Jewish people from annihilation. There was no refuge, no army, no state. Today, there is the State of Israel. For the first time in the long and painful history of the Jewish people, our fate is held in our own hands. And yet, the responsibility of memory is not confined to the past. On October 7th, we were brutally reminded that the hatred which fueled the Holocaust has not disappeared. On that day, Jews were hunted simply for being Jews. Families were torn from their homes. Innocent lives were taken. And terror was inflicted with deliberate cruelty. The echoes of history were impossible to ignore. When the world fails to confront hatred, the promise of never again is put to the test. This is why we must stand together against anti-Semitism in all of its forms. History teaches us a simple and dangerous truth. What begins with the hatred of the Jews never ends with the Jews. Anti-Semitism and hate crimes against Jews are once again on the rise. Hate adapts, but its purpose remains the same. Anti-Semitism comes in many shapes and in many places. Today, it often disguises itself as anti-Zionism through the hatred of Israel, the demonization of Israel, and the application of double standard demanded of no other nation. Disagreement and criticism are legitimate, but let there be no confusion. Denying the Jewish people, and only the Jewish people, the right to a homeland is a modern form of anti-Semitism. We also continue to hear open calls for the destruction of the Jewish state from Iran and its proxies. These threats are real, and they cannot be ignored. Yet, even in moments of pain, there is hope. We see that hope in the changing Middle East, where Abraham Accords still hold the cooperation and bond between Israel and Muslim and Arab nations. These accords give us reason to believe in a different future, one we pray will continue to grow and include all of our neighbors. We also see the same spirit of resilience here at Pasadena. In the aftermath of the Eaton fire, the Jewish community came together in extraordinary ways. Neighbors helped neighbors. Faith communities stood side by side. In the face of loss and uncertainty, compassion prevailed. This resilience, the determination to rebuild and to care for one another, is the same strength that carried Holocaust survivors forward and continue to define who they are. I would also like to thank President Janine Mann and Jason Moss, the Executive Director of the Jewish Federation of the San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys, for preserving this sacred and deeply emotional ceremony, even those challenging times. By reading thousands of names, we remind ourselves that each victim was not a number. Each person had a name. Each one was an entire world. Today, I also speak the names of my own family, Boris, Polya, and their little daughter, Manichka Ptashnikova, husband, wife, and child, my distant relatives on my mother's side, were murdered in Dnipropetrovsk, Ukraine, in 1939, simply for being Jewish. To Boris, Polya, Manichka, and the 6 million Jews murdered during the Shoah, we promise we will never forget. We promise that never again is not just a phrase, but a moral obligation. It is the compass that guides us as individuals, as a people, and as a nation, to speak out, to act, and to build a better world. Yehi zichram baruch, leolam lo od. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayal. Congresswoman Judy Chu represents California's 27th Congressional District and has attended this event every year since its inception. I'd like to now invite up Congresswoman Chu.
Hello, I'm Congressmember Judy Chu, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to join you once again for this solemn event. I want to thank the Jewish Federation of the Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys for the work you do every year to host the Every Person Has a Name event. Your leadership and the commitment of everyone involved honors the memory of the 6 million Jews honored and murdered during the Holocaust so that such an atrocity can never happen again. And that is why I have come every year that you've had this event since the beginning. This evening is about educating every generation about the horrors and realities of the Holocaust. By remembering the names and reading them aloud, we ensure that history is not forgotten. And more importantly, we ensure these lives are not forgotten because we remember them not as numbers, but as human beings, each of whom had a name, a family, a community, and a life. And remembering means we can teach others how to understand how the Holocaust happened. Propaganda is what paved the way for pogroms, ghettoization, and eventually the unthinkable, Nazi death camps. Entire Jewish communities, which had existed in Europe for centuries, were completely erased. And as the years pass, we have fewer survivors still left with us who can share their experience of the Holocaust firsthand. This only magnifies our responsibility to carry on the message and ensure that every generation understands what happened. And this is of paramount importance because there are too many who continue to spread hate, and the U.S. and indeed the entire world has seen an increase in anti-Semitism in recent years. Just days after the anniversary of the Eton fire, we learned that someone had vandalized one of the still standing walls of our beloved Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. One day before that, an anti-Semitic arsonist lit a synagogue in Mississippi ablaze. And in December, 2 gunmen killed 15 people at a Hanukkah celebration in Bondi Beach, Australia. And last June, 1 woman was killed and more than a dozen were injured in an anti-Semitic attack in Boulder, Colorado. This is just a small sample of the anti-Semitic incidents and crimes that have shaken the Jewish community at home and around the world. I want you to know that I will always be your partner in Congress in the fight against anti-Semitism and in all forms of hate. And that's why in 2021, I pushed for my Jabara Hire No Hate Act to be passed, which improved hate crime reporting as well as law enforcement's ability to respond to hate crimes, and it was signed into law by President Biden. And I continue to advocate for legislation like the Countering Anti-Semitism Act, which would establish a national coordinator to counter anti-Semitism, to implement a federal strategy to counter this hatred. It's also clear that we need to be proactive in not only confronting the hatred, but ensuring that all Americans are educated about the horrors of the Holocaust. And that's why I have co-sponsored legislation in Congress, including the Holocaust Education and Anti-Semitism Lessons Act and the Never Again Education Reauthorization Act, bills that would enable the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum to support schools across the country in teaching about the Holocaust and anti-Semitism. And I was proud to introduce legislation that will commemorate with a Congressional Gold Medal the Americans who, at great risk, stepped up to rescue Jews from almost certain death during the Holocaust. They include heroes like American diplomat Hiram Bingham IV, who issued thousands of visas to help Jewish refugees escape from France. Their bravery sets an example for all of us. Thank you again for hosting today's memorial and for all that you are doing to fight hatred and division. Together, we ensure the names and the lives of the 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust are forever remembered.
Thank you, Congresswoman Chu. In your program, you may have seen an order. It's already gone out of whack, which is fine. Unfortunately, our musical performance, besides Cantor Allison Weiss, had a sudden illness. Okay. Why? Here. That's fine. Unfortunately, there was an illness, and so our performers couldn't speak. But we do have some surprise guests, which is really nice. So, which is why you'll start seeing a little bit out of order. What I would like to do is invite up State Senator Susan Rubio, who represents the 22nd State Senate District. She's also a proud member of California Legislative Jewish Caucus and a true friend of our Jewish community, to say a few words.
Good evening. It is really quite an honor to come every year and take this moment to connect with the Jewish community here. This event is extremely important because we know that the generation that is before us is forgetting or not learning what happened in the past. I have to share that this is my 20th year as an educator. And when I was in the classroom, it was my mission to continue to impart my knowledge, but it's not always accessible to our teachers or our students. And so I was very honored to be appointed by the governor to his Council of Holocaust and Genocide Education program so that we could gather to see how we provide that support to teachers, resources, and how we, in a very strategic way, provide that education that's so desperately needed. We see that our generation today is not only not accepting what happened in the past, and that continues to be a challenge today, but we're forgetting the history that really plays into what's happening today. I think many of our speakers used the word "and never again," and I believe our visitor said something very profound to me right now to us when she said that that is being tested right now. Never again. And that's correct. Never again. If we know what never again means, what is it that we're not never again doing? And in order to really stand on that promise of never again, then we need to know what we need to stop. And right now what we see is quite challenging because we know that power that is not checked can have detrimental effects not only to a community but our entire nation. And so thank you for allowing me to come and continue to build community with all of you. In the Jewish Caucus, we've been very diligent to ensure that we have resources. We fought really hard to bring a security grant program and funding every year so that we can provide to our local communities safety and opportunity to feel safe in their own communities. And every year we keep pushing the envelope to ensure that we get a much bigger number. I was also recently a co-author to a bill that will ensure that education, proper, accurate education goes into our classrooms so that we can combat some of the hatred that's coming out. I did hear some of the examples that the Congresswoman gave to us in terms of what we see in anti-Semitism in our nation, but recently too in the state of California. My heart broke when I saw a football field in one of the high schools up north where we had students building a swastika with their bodies. And the fact that they don't even know or understand what that means to so many who still are alive, who have families who perish. 6 million people. 6 million people. I think of all the lives that were destroyed, all the families that were left behind, and all the futures that were destroyed. And in today's society, we have students forming a swastika with their bodies at our high school. And so we will do what we can to ensure that we educate, that we highlight the importance of understanding the history and understanding the importance of community and how building community with one another, no matter who we are, no matter where we come from, will make for a better world. And so I want to thank Jason Moss and the Jewish Federation for bringing us together. And every year that I've been here, respectfully, I do see our attendance dwindling a bit. And so I know that we need to continue to be present, continue to push the education and say the names of all those who are no longer with us so that we could honor their tragedies in a way that respects the history, respects their family who were left to deal with that. Again, I want to say thank you to Jason, and I'm honored again to be here to name every person, to ensure that every person in their name continues to be pushed forward as generations continue to come up and we continue to get older. We need to ensure that they too remember those names. So thank you for the opportunity to be here with all of you. And again, I honor all those victims that are no longer with us. And I ask, and I'll take this moment of privilege to ask all of you to continue to check in on each other. Right now, there's so many people that are hurting, so many people that are struggling. Today was a heavy day for me personally, because, we all saw the tragedies that are happening across our nation. And I ask you to stand with one another, hold each other's hand through this very difficult time. And I want to thank Congresswoman Judy Chu and everyone else that's working really hard to ensure that tragedy does not escalate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Rubio. As I mentioned, we did have a nice surprise. Tony Thurmond, California State Superintendent, is here. He was visiting and with the rally behind us. So he actually heard about the event and asked to come stop by and asked if he could say a few words, and I said, of course. So, Superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It is an honor to be able to join you to bring very brief greetings in this moment of remembrance as we prepare for the Day of Remembrance. Thank you, Jason, and to all the electeds who are here. Senator Perez, honored to be in your district. Congressmember Chu, for all the things that you shared that you are doing. Senator Rubio, as you talk about how we can use education to end hate. And Senator Rubio and I serve together on the state's Council on Holocaust Education, and I have the honor of serving as the co-chair of that council. Every time, I've made a pledge that every time there is any act of hate or anti-Semitism on any school campus in our state, we will investigate and we will root out those acts of hate wherever they take place. We cannot allow our children to be co-opted by those who would bring forward these messages of hate. And so we've created a curriculum to make sure that every California student learns about the Holocaust and the impacts. We've launched an oral history series where we've invited Holocaust survivors or their descendants and loved ones to tell their own story in first-person narrative. Because as you all know, there were those who are trying to deny the Holocaust. And when someone tells that story in their own narrative, it cannot be denied. And so we don't want our students to be co-opted by neo-Nazi groups and other groups that would try to strike out that history. And so we continue to do that. And on March 2nd, we will be hosting our second annual anti-hate education, focused on anti-Semitism and how we root it out in our communities and in our schools. It typically takes place in the state capitol. We welcome those who wish to participate in person or by Zoom, because we never will forget, and we want to use education to end hate. I'm grateful to this federation. I'm grateful to many of the Jewish federations. It was the Jewish Federation that first invited me to make my first trip to Israel. And I traveled with 45 educators. If you ever want to experience anything, travel with 45 educators. We had a very powerful experience that put into context the complexities of the conflicts that are currently taking place, so that we can help our students to understand them and to not be judgmental and to never forget what the Jewish people have suffered. It was my honor as a legislator to represent cities like Berkeley and Richmond and Oakland, and to serve for 4 years as a member of California's Legislative Jewish Caucus. We've made a pledge that we will take a stand when there's any form of hate, or whether it be anti-Semitism or racism. We spent time with students from Hillel, and our conversation was about how do we build bridges to help people see that our struggles are connected. My struggle connected to yours, yours to mine. And I believe that when we do that, it's easier to build relationships when people understand our connection, as opposed to trying to point a finger of blame and to perpetuate hate. And so while it is heartbreaking when we hear students who arrange themselves in the form of a human swastika, and it is hurtful, that there were many adults who commended them for what they said was their right to free speech. We counteracted that. We said that free speech never envisioned hate against any group, and we will not stand for it. And so thank you for being here tonight, for reading the names, and making sure that we never forget. Thank you so much on this moment of remembrance.
I'm still shocked that you're here. It really is an amazing, amazing opportunity, so thank you so much for sharing your words. State Senator Sasha Renee Perez represents California's 25th State Senate District, and as the Senate Education Chair, worked closely with the Jewish community and the Jewish Caucus to help get AB 715, a bill that went into effect on January 1st of this year that addresses the growing anti-Semitism in California's K through 12 schools. It gives me great pleasure to introduce State Senator Perez.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the Jewish Federation of the Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys, and honored guest. My name is Senator Sasha Renee Perez, and it is a tremendous privilege to be here with you this evening as we come together for this meaningful event. This occasion serves as a reminder of our shared humanity, the value of remembering the past, and the resilience of our community. As we remember the countless lives that have been changed forever by hatred and prejudice, we are reminded that each name we honor this evening represents a unique story, a real life, a relative, a loved one. These names are more than words. They are reminders of laughter and dreams that were violently and systematically stopped. Their legacies urge us to prevent genocides from being repeated. The act of remembering is not merely an exercise, it's a solemn promise to honor those who died. Recent events and the rhetoric from various corners of society have increased divisions and ignited old fears that we hoped were left in the past. Just 2 weeks ago, the Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center was vandalized with hate speech. This despicable act took place 1 year after the temple was destroyed during the Eaton fires. In a time where the community is trying to rebuild and start again, this despicable action caused even more pain and anguish when the congregants of the Pasadena Jewish Temple have already been through so much. This resurgence of hate and anti-Semitism is a harsh reminder that we cannot afford to grow complacent. It is the responsibility of every single one of us to confront this hatred head on. We must hold our national leaders accountable, demanding that they not only condemn these hateful ideologies, but also work to actively ensure that hate has no place in our society. In a time when division seems so prevalent, let us remember that our strength lies in diversity and in community. As your elected representative and the senator for Pasadena, I am committed to fostering an environment where kindness prevails, where every individual feels valued, and where our differences are celebrated, not merely tolerated. It's more critical now than ever that people from all walks of life work together to promote understanding and healing. Today, as we hold this vigil, let us pledge to honor their memories through our actions. Let us refuse to let the hatred of the past creep into the present and future. We must stand united against all forms of hatred, including resurgent Nazi sympathizers who threaten the very fabric of our society. We must protect the principles of inclusivity and acceptance that are the foundation of our democracy. It is not enough to just remember. We must also act, advocate, and ensure that the ghosts of the past do not overshadow our future. Every name stands as a testament to someone loved and cherished. Every name reminds us of our collective responsibility to stand up for one another and the values we hold dear. Together, let's honor every name and every story. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I would like to now introduce Cantor Allison Weiss from Temple Sinai of Glendale. She'll be singing A Lee. The song lyrics are in your program on the insert page.
I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
Although not in your program, because we weren't sure if he was able to make it, Assemblymember John Harabidian is here. He represents the 41st Assembly District, and I'd like to invite him up to say a few words.
I hate to do this because then you have to bring it back down, but thank you, Jason. Thank you for the honor of being here tonight with you, and to the Jewish Federation and everyone who came here, including my fellow elected officials and Mayor Tornick. Maria, good to see you, and everyone that is in attendance. I'm always struck by this event because of how personal it is for each one of us that's here for different reasons. And obviously, last year was a very emotional time for our community, including our Jewish community in Pasadena, because of everything that had happened. October 7th and the fires. And it seemed like the worst would be behind us. And fast forward to today and this event, sadly, we were sorely mistaken. And to see what happened, as Senator Perez said a few weeks ago, at the Jewish temple, I think was a unfortunate and stark reminder that we are in unprecedented times. And I think that my Jewish brothers and sisters will probably admit that anti-Semitism and being treated differently for who they are and what they believe and who their parents and grandparents are, something that unfortunately they're quite used to, but not at this level and in communities where we thought we were safe. And as an Armenian American, I not only have sympathy, I have empathy. And I truly believe that our communities are tied together like many communities aren't, because of the genocides that we've endured, because we survived, because of the perpetrators failing in that effort, and because of the strength of the communities that came after. And I know that this community here in Pasadena and the larger San Gabriel Valley is going to continue to thrive, not to survive. And you're going to continue to have allies in me and every single person up here, but many who might not come to this event. And I want you to know that. And I do want our entire Jewish community that is listening, that may hear this at some point, to know that we have not done enough. And I think all of us can admit that. We have not done enough to make you feel safe. We will continue, though, to work to do that in any way that we can. And we won't buckle. We won't break. And this isn't something that we do once a year here at this event. It's something that we truly believe in. And so with that, obviously we will, as we do every year, honor the names and continue to honor the names of those who perished long before us under horrendous circumstances that hopefully we never see again. But the work, there's still so much work left to be done. And you will have someone in me that will do the work. And so I'm honored to be here. God bless every one of you. And I truly feel for you tonight, but for every night going forward, until we can get some safety and some peace back in our community. So thank you.
I'd now like to introduce Brendan Hidalgo, who is the Assistant Field Deputy for LA County Supervisor Catherine Barger. And as he's coming up, I just want to thank him. Not aware why I'm going to say thanking him. But because of the work our federation's been doing over the years, it was recognized by Supervisor Barger, and she named me to LA County's Commission on Human Relations, so that not only can I do this work as part of the Jewish Federation, but also on behalf of our entire county. So, Brendan, if you'd like to come up and say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to move this a little bit. Well, on behalf of Los Angeles County Supervisor Catherine Barger, thank you for welcoming me this evening. I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to the Jewish Federation of the Pomona and San Gabriel Valleys for continuing this powerful annual vigil. Your leadership and dedication have made this gathering an enduring space for remembrance, reflection, and community connection. The Federation's commitment to education, cultural understanding, and combating intolerance remains deeply impactful and necessary. Tonight, we pause to honor the memory of the millions of innocent lives lost during the Holocaust, the men, the women, and children whose lives were unjustly taken. As we read their names, we do more than remember. We acknowledge their humanity and affirm that their stories will not be forgotten. This act of remembrance also recognizes the lasting impact carried by the survivors, descendants, and generations shaped by this history. Standing together this evening, we demonstrate the strength that comes from unity across faiths, cultures, and backgrounds. We are reminded of our shared responsibility to confront hatred, speak out against injustice, and protect the dignity of every person. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this solemn and meaningful observance. May the memories we honor tonight continue to guide us toward compassion, vigilance, and peace. Thank you so much, everyone.
And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Abel Casanova, who is here representing Assemblymember Blanca Rubio, who unfortunately last minute was not able to join us. Abel is one of her field reps, and I've asked him to offer a few words on behalf of her.
Thank you very much, Jason, and what a beautiful and cold night to come to another Community Commemoration Day here in the city of Pasadena. As introduced, I am Abel, and I am a field representative for Assemblymember Blanca Rubio, who represents the 48th Assembly District, and it's truly an honor to be here on her behalf and be part of this Community Commemoration Day. I'll begin by thanking Mr. Jason and the Jewish Federation of the Greater San Gabriel Valley and Pomona for servicing our region. As a proud member of the Legislative Jewish Caucus, the Assemblywoman continues to stand in solidarity with her Jewish brothers and sisters. Tonight, in this International Holocaust Remembrance Day, we gather to honor those who lost their lives during the Holocaust. And our events like these that allows our community to come together to keep their memory alive and to remind us to continue striving for a just society. May this commemoration and vigil strengthen our commitment to promoting acceptance, equality, and respect across our communities, and may this help us continue to honor those who lost their lives and endured the atrocity of the Holocaust. The determination and strength of those victims remind us to continue using our voices to support the needs of our Jewish families here and around the world. We appreciate the time that allows us to express our hearts to the Jewish community, and on behalf of Assemblywoman Rubio, it is truly an honor to be here as she continues to advocate for the Jewish community in the legislature. Thank you very much, and God bless.
In your program, you'll find the poem that gives our event its name, Everyone Has a Name, written by Zelda Schneerson-Mishkovsky. I now invite Solveig Sko, granddaughter of Holocaust survivors, to read the poem aloud.
This is Solveig, and I'm reading this also in honor of my family, my grandparents who came here as refugees and immigrants to Boyle Heights, and whose whole family was murdered, including their 6-year-old son, in the Holocaust. Everyone has a name that God gives, and one's father and mother give. Everyone has a name that stature and the curve of one's smile give, and the weave of one's clothing give. Everyone has a name that the mountains give, that the walls of one city give. Everyone has a name that the stars give and one's neighbors give. Everyone has a name that one's offenses give and one's longing gives. Everyone has a name that enemies give and love for others gives. Everyone has a name birthday celebrations give and one's work gives. Everyone has a name that the seasons of the year give and our blindness gives. Everyone has a name that the sea gives and one's death gives.
Thank you, Solveig. Now I invite Rabbi Josh Ratner from Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center to say a few words and lead us in the Mourner's Kaddish, Judaism's traditional memorial prayer.
Before I begin, I just want to offer my appreciation for the words that have been expressed by so many of our speakers this evening, words of support and solidarity in the wake of the despicable act of vandalism that our community endured just a couple of weeks ago. Your solidarity helps us as we not only grieve, but work towards reaffirming that the spirit of resilience that we have, but knowing that we have the support of our elected officials helps us that much more. So thank you for your words of support and solidarity. There are no words to encapsulate the scope of the horror, the evil, the devastation of the Shoah. But we have words from our tradition to offer in tribute to each of the 6 million lives we lost. I invite those of you who are so inclined to rise as we prepare for the Mourner's Kaddish, as we prepare to recite the names of those who perished over the course of the next 24 hours. May the memories of each of these precious souls always be for a blessing. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, be'amad yivra chirutei, v'mlich machutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam v'almei almaya, Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitzadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol b'chata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'miran be'alma v'yimru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Thank you.
To help us conclude tonight's ceremony, I invite back Cantor Weiss to sing The Last Butterfly, that represents the 1.5 million Jewish children who perished during the Holocaust.
Sing along. I truly believe music heals and music is unifying. And this song is all in English, so that should make it that much easier. So please join me. The very last, so richly, brightly, dazzling yellow. Perhaps if the sun's tears could sing against a white stone, such a yellow is carried lightly way up high. It went away, I'm sure, because it wished to kiss the world goodbye. For 7 weeks I've lived in here, penned up inside this ghetto. But I have found my people here. The dandelions call to me, and the white chestnut candles in the court. Only I never saw another butterfly. The very last, so richly, brightly, dazzling yellow. Perhaps if the sun's tears could sing against a white stone, that butterfly was the last one. Butterflies don't live in here.
In a moment, we'll begin our 24 hours of reading the names of some of the 6 million Jews who were murdered during the Holocaust, by picking up where we left off last year. In addition, many of our volunteers will be reading the names of family members who perished at the hands of the Nazis. If you're out and about over the next 24 hours, please stop by, sit, and listen as we continue to read names. We also ask that you please help us spread the word by encouraging others to join you or watch our live stream on Facebook at facebook.com/JewishSGPV. I encourage you, both those here in person and those joining us online, to walk through this year's exhibition behind me in the rotunda. The exhibition is entitled Stars Without a Heaven, Children in the Holocaust. The exhibition was made available to us by Yad Vashem. It tells some of the unique stories of Jewish children during the Holocaust, providing a moving and exhilarating glimpse at their lives through a selection of drawings, poems, letters, and more. Thank you to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center Sisterhood for helping us by sponsoring it. As we did last year, Pasadena's Armory for the Arts will be with us tomorrow morning, coordinating a special art project while students and their parents from 3 local religious schools are here reading names. I also wanted to share that volunteers from the American Red Cross's Holocaust tracking services are to my left, to your right. They're here with us this evening and at various times tomorrow with information about how they can help community members research what their relatives and families went through during the war. I also want to extend our appreciation to Party Pronto and Arcadia for providing us with the chairs for this event, as well as Grand Printing and Covina for printing the programs for us. Thank you for their support and ongoing friendship. Again, thank you to everyone who was here with us and participated in this ceremony. Thank you to our elected officials, our friends, for joining with us and helping us remember. Over the course of the next 24 hours, our volunteers will remember more than 8,000 people. While that might seem like a lot, I want to put that number in some perspective. Since we began holding this event in 2019, we have read just under 55,000 names, less than 1% of the names of the 6 million Jews who were murdered. This is why we keep coming back year after year to hold this event. Together we are keeping their memories alive and remembering that everyone has a name. May the memory of each and every one of them and their names forever be a blessing. Thank you. As we conclude, Every Person Has a Name, I want to say special thank you to Jake Tavel, Zachary Guillon, Lou Blackman, Casey O'Connell for helping us with the technical support of our virtual and live stream. It's because of you that this event went as smoothly as it did, so thank you very much. Special thanks also go to Karen Galliana and Rebecca Russell from our Jewish Federation. The program had lots of moving parts, and you handled it all with such poise and grace. The event would not have been possible without your work on it, so thank you so much. And special thank you to PJTC Sisterhood for continuing its support of the exhibition we show each year. For the past 24 hours, over 125 community members, as well as religious school students and their parents, as well as survivors, children of Holocaust survivors, have read the names of thousands of people, as well as the members of their own families they wanted to remember. Reading their names and whatever personal information that was available from both Jewish Gen and Yad Vashem. This included our volunteers continuing reading names from lists where we left off last year. By reading and hearing the names, we keep their memory alive and remember them. Now it continues to be our responsibility and obligation to keep their memories alive and pass along their stories to future generations. This is one of the great mitzvot we can do because they are not able to thank or repay us for doing it. We also remember the people whose names we were not able to read during these past 24 hours. We will do that by concluding our program with Kaddish. I would ask everyone, if you can, to please rise and join with me. We do have the programs. And we're saying it in a way so that those that no longer have anyone else to read Kaddish or say Kaddish for them, it becomes our responsibility to do that. So if you join me, Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah Be'amal divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May all of the names that we read and those we were not able to get to this year forever be a blessing. Thank you again for everyone joining us, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening. Good night.